Hey guys, so in this video we're going to go over my starter for the 1.2 patch, the new season in last Epoch, and the build is a Brand of Deception Runemaster. So this is a build that I've played quite a bit in the current patch. Actually put out a video a couple weeks ago going over the character, and I'm going to be playing it again in 1.2 because it was a pretty amazing build. There's a couple of things I'm not really sure of how what direction I'm going to go with the build, but I think for now we're going to be building pretty much the same thing as I did before, as it was a pretty amazing build. This is the build from the current patch, and there has been some changes to the damage numbers, but overall I think we're going to be doing a lot more damage than I was before. And you can see in the current patch, able to actually kill T4 Julra in like what, 10 seconds or so. Damage pretty insane on the brand. There has been a couple of nerfs to the static orb interaction, but I'm not really sure which skill I'll be using for the actual brand application for single target. But there was a couple of bugs in the current version, the current patch version that I played, mostly to do with, if we take a look here, with the orders in position node. So this was actually giving you 6% damage per shock if you had 6 points in it, but I only had 5. So I was missing out on about 500 to 750% more damage on the brand already. So I think that is going to be enough, and we'll be getting quite a lot more shock chance now in the new patch, because we'll be able to use things like the new set crafting. I think that's going to offset the damage nerf to the static orb. Basically, static orb, the mana charge node got a little bit of a nerf, just small nerf. Right now it's damage per 25 mana instead of 20, so we lost a little bit of damage there. But I still think I like the static orb single target nuke, mainly because it's very long range, very easy to use, and also you get constant lightning gauges during boss fights. So that's one really nice thing I liked about it. I might try the charge ground a little bit, I'm not really sure, but charge ground is going to give us more shock effect and that kind of stuff. So it might be nice, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, also 1k corruption, killing the boss. Damage is still pretty good, and we'll be having quite a bit more damage in the current patch, or the new patch 1.2. But yeah, able to go probably well over 1k corruption, and very, very fast speed farmer if you're using things like the frost, what do you call it, the frost wall to proc the lightning blasts. There is the new amulet. So there's this thing, and you can do this with focus, and I'll try it out, but I'm not really sure how good it's going to be. I think it's actually going to be pretty bait, because, well, let's take a look at the lightning blast. So lightning blast, and we can get an additional 4 chains. So with mana guide, you're only going to get 4 chains, or 4 hits, or maybe 5 hits if you count the additional hit, per second. And that's not enough for endgame monoliths. You're going to be overwhelmed. Imagine you get 50 spiders around you, right? It's going to take you forever to clear that. So, and even with self-cast lightning blast with quite a few chains, I had 4 here, 4 here, so that's 8 chains. Even with this, the clear felt a little bit spotty at times. So only being able to cast 1 per second with maximum 4 chains, I think it's going to be kind of bad. I'll test it out and see how it goes. Maybe it'll be okay, maybe it won't be, but I think it's not going to be good enough for clear. And then the good thing about Frostwall is it casts 3 lightning blasts, right? If we take a look at Frostwall, so Frostball, it casts to 4 enemy targets. So I don't know, this clear felt way better for me because of the amount of lightning blasts it actually casts. But we'll see. The skills can be changed around or whatever. I think that'll be totally fine. We can even self-cast it if we need to. But let's take a look at the current build in-game right now, what we have, and go over some of the reasons why I think it's actually pretty good. Alright, so here we are in-game on the current character, and one of the cool things that I want to try out with the build, or that I really enjoyed, was the Wall of Nothing. So with this build, we can get quite a lot of what do you say, ward decay threshold. Right now I'm only at 1,000 on this current character. But this can go all the way up to probably about 1,500 when we have some better gear. Also, our ward per second is pretty good. You can see we're sitting at like 3,700 ward. But when we're going to be using this affix over here, the lightning penetration with, well, that doesn't really matter actually, but the ward per second per gone rune, it's almost 100 ward per second per gone rune. So that's 300. This affix is going to be like 300 ward per second pretty much. And then we can also get on the helmet. So you can see once we get 3 gone runes, our ward per second goes all the way up to like 700. And will be quite a bit more in the next patch because we can get more sources of this and more ward retention. So we're going to be looking at, right now I'm sitting at like 6k-ish, and when we're moving around, we might get around 7k-ish in combat. And in the next patch, we'll probably be peaking at like, I don't know, maybe 8k, 9k, maybe even 10k ward per second. And since we have so much ward decay threshold, the ward regen feels really good. Like you take a big hit, you might lose all of your ward, and then right away you'll just like jump right, back to like 3k ward. So the sustain on the build feels really good, I would say. So that's one reason why I really liked it. And on top of that, if you're using the Frostwall setup, you're like really mobile. You have like perma haste pretty much. You get like perma frenzy pretty much. You get like perma cleanses, and it's really good. You just run around, and the Frostwall or the lightning wall zaps everything to death. Alright, so let's take a look at like 1k corruption, and let's just see. We can just do some like node over here. Alright, so let's just see. So basically we just kind of, put down the frost walls, run around, and you can see it. Pretty much everything just kind of dies, right? And that's what I mean, where I think the lightning blast clear from the mana guide isn't going to be good enough. Is because you can see, even with this, with quite a few chains and quite a few frost bolts, lightning bolts, not everything is getting hit, right? So imagine this only 1 time per second, and you're only hitting 4 targets or 5 targets per second. So it's gonna be, I don't think that's gonna be good enough. Anyways, so we just kind of run around with our frost walls. We get our haste, we get our frenzy, and keep going. Oh, this is the objective. Then we can just use our, how would you say? Static orb. Alright, and we kill the boss. So, we get a wand. No, nothing really good. Alright, so that's pretty much what the build plays like. We can take a look at a boss real quick. This is like 1k corruption boss. I don't want to do the Harbinger. It's gonna like take way too long. And there is some other kind of setups you can do for bossing. I'll go over the skill interactions after this, but for max DPS, you can see I'm using Flames of Midnight, or you can use the Crab Ring to get swiftness in maps, or in Monoliths for faster clear, or if you want to go like max DPS for bosses, you can use 2 of these, the Ocean Rings. And we can use a Staff as well. Staff is going to give us access to a lot more damage, so we can do that. We don't get as much ward. You can see, oh, we gotta kill those guys off. But, yeah. So, for this guy, we just kind of use our, how would you say, our static orbs. We don't really need to worry too much about the mana cost because, yeah, we can sustain it pretty good. And it's pretty easy to dodge everything, right? Because all you have to do is, just cast a static orb every 4 seconds. Right, so and he's pretty much already dead, and I think, yeah, keep in mind, guys, the damage is going to be like quite a bit higher in the next patch when we have access to a lot more of these damage nodes and damage runes and that kind of stuff, and the set crafting allowing us to add on the the set item to get more shock chance pretty much. All right, so he's pretty much dead though, and you can go kill him off, right? So pretty easy boss killing. Alright, so let's go over the characters. So there's 3 setups I'm going to go over today. The first one is the standard setup. This is pretty much exactly the same build as I ran in current patch, with just a couple of new items and that kind of stuff. And then there is another one I want to try. This is the Mind Over Matter, or the damage taken from mana for health version. This one is going to be probably one of the tankiest builds in the league. I've already made quite a few of these mana tank kind of builds, tanking like 1k Orbis, 1k Corruption Orbis, pretty much all of his abilities, just like dealing no damage because of the way the damage taken from mana for health works, along with endurance. And then also like able to tank the Jewel Ruds ones in 1.0. So like we didn't have access to a lot of the good gear, the new items and that kind of stuff. But yeah, you can see the explosion, just like 0 damage. It's actually the dot right now that's actually doing a lot of damage to me. And then tanking Aberoth as well in 1.1. So this damage taken for mana for health is probably the tankiest weight setup in the entire game, I would say, if you build it correctly. Also because it does apply to damage over time and not just hits. So yeah, you're gonna be really tanky to hits, as well as having good dot mitigation for your health, and then having insane ward recovery because of all of the ward regen and ward decay threshold and ward retention we're gonna be having. So yeah, it's gonna be pretty insane build, I think, but it's gonna require quite a lot of good gear, so probably won't be able to start this right away. And then we're going to go over a sort of starter version. Like, it's going to be pretty cheap basic items that are, you can pretty much buy once you have the requirement in the Merchant's Guild, or you'll probably even just find a couple of these while you're leveling. Yeah, and so a lot of the items aren't even required. The only thing you probably really want is the set helmet, and this is extremely common, so that's pretty much all you really need. The rest is just kind of just like bonus items, right, for extra damage and that kind of stuff. And even without all these extra unique items, you're going to be having more than enough damage. You can see our shock chance on the starter version is like 600%, right? And that's that's with like the idols and that kind of stuff. So you'll probably have like 300% shock chance if you're just like in basic gear, but that's still going to be enough to clear 200 corruption, maybe even higher. Anyways, so let's cover the builds. The first one, and guys, like the explanation of the build, how it works, is all in this video over here, and I'll have this video linked in the description so you can go check it out if you're interested in how the character works and why we're doing certain things and that kind of stuff, and how to scale the damage and all that kind of stuff in this video in the description, so go check that out. Alright, so first of all, let's cover the standard version. What's changed in the current patch? The amulet might change. Right now, just still having devotion in the planner because it's a very high damage amulet. Mainly just because of the lightning pen and the lightning damage. But if the mana guide ends up being not a bait, which it probably is going to be, I don't know, guys, right? But then we'll go to mana guide and focus instead of frostwall. So that's the thing. The skills might change as well, but for now I'm just going to leave it as it is. Anyways, we'll see about that. There's also the Orion's Eye, which is pretty good if you get one of those, because then you don't have to worry about your void res. Another thing that changed is the belt. This belt, you could still use the Strand of Souls belt. I think that's also pretty good, but I think this one, since it's going to be extremely common, even for a 3 LP, going to be very possible to get 3 LP. Then we can, how would you say, we can use this because it's what, 25 int, up to 25 int, and that's insane. All right, so anyways, we're going to use this for the int, and then we're going to use the ocean rings, the crab ring, or the other one, the purple one, just for the haste. This one also does give +6 attributes. And then for gloves, atrophy, pretty much best in slot for damage because of the penetration. Then we use the blood of the exiles. This is just for the int. You can also use a transient rest if you're having trouble with resistance. That's a more defensive type of boot because you do get the ward from your mana every time you stop moving, so that's pretty good. And then for the relic, same relic, Stormcarved Testament. This is like best in slot for DPS because of the shock chance and penetration. And then there is the other one, the new one you can use for the Shattered Worlds for the haste. But if you're doing the Frostwall setup, you are going to be getting perma haste pretty much, so might not be as important. So that's kind of nice. As for the idol setup, there's a lot of things you can do. So right now, I'm using a couple of the new ones with the shock chance. It's up to 30% now. It's actually insane. And then I'm opting in for the big ones. You can get more shock chance with a lot of these small ones. It's like 10% more shock chance, but the big ones can roll movement speed. Right, and see this character extremely fast, 130% movement speed. So I think we're going to have more than enough shock chance. You can see right now, this character, it's insane. It's like, what, 800% shock chance. So we could get more, right? But at this point, I think getting more movement speed is going to be better. So we'll see. You could just do a whole bunch of these small idols with shock chance if you want. Same thing here. I'm using just like a mana idol. This isn't really important either. You can also go for more of these small ones, right? So you can kind of choose what you want. This is sort of the setup that I used last time, so it's how it is. The passive tree hasn't changed at all, guys. It's pretty much the same, except I'm going to try basically getting rid of the cast speed, because we're not going to be casting, so arcane momentum isn't even going to be maxed, right? Well, we'll see. And just go get more int, right? Get more int. Same thing over here. I guess we will be getting this cast speed, and we do get some cast speed from Runemaster, so we're not actually like 0 cast speed. But I don't think it's going to be that important for cast speed unless we end up having to self-cast Lightning Blast. And then you actually do want to get a little bit of cast speed. Okay, so that's the passives. Not really much has changed. The skills are pretty much all the same except for Static Orb. I'm not sure about this area here. We'll have to work on this. See if this is even good or worth it. And if not, maybe go into some of this more mana cost reduction for Static Orb. But we'll see about that. But that's pretty much how the tree works. One thing for the charged ground, if you really want to go into the charged ground, you probably want to go for Storm Burst, get rid of this long distance stuff and put it all into the charged ground, because what happens is if you're playing from range with your Static Orb, you're never going to be standing in your charged ground, so you go for the close range option. And that's pretty much it. You can go take a look at the skills. And someone's going to be asking for a leveling version, and I'm working on a leveling version that's going to be something before this version that I'm actually leveling up right now and seeing how I want to do it. So I'll kind of I'll have that planner the next couple of days. But for now, this is what we have. And then for the damage, for the Mind Over Matter tank build, the amulet is, I think Orion's Eye is going to be nice. We could even just use Devotion, or we can use the Mana Guide. If Mana Guide ends up being good, then it's going to be insane on this build. Just imagine, just like, you're getting so much like more damage reduction on top of all the damage reduction we already have. Gonna be pretty insane. But for now, I'm sticking with the Orion's Eye, just because of all the mana we can get. We can also go for Devotion for a bit more damage. And we got the helmet. We want to get damage dealt to mana for health. If this is something I'm not sure about either, because 80% is quite high. You don't really even need that much. You could have this as a T5 and then have the ward per second as a T7, and that would work as well, right? So you can kind of like see which one you want. And then same thing over here. Body armor, we're gonna have the T7 damage ward per second, and then T5 damage ultimate for health. Yeah, and then the scepter focus is the same, and then we're gonna use the ocean rings again. The same belt. I guess the belt slot's not so important here anymore because of the we're not really relying on int that much for shock chance, but anyways. And then the Flames of Midnight, you could use this one, or you could use the crab ring, whichever one. And then same kind of items here. You can also, you know, transient rest, just kind of fix resistance and give us a lot of ward every time we stop moving because of our mana pool is a lot bigger. And the idols are pretty much the same. Yeah, you can take a look here. The blessings are all pretty much the same here. And then as for the skills, in this setup, we want to be self-casting Lightning Blast. And the reason is that in order to recover our mana in this setup, we are going to be using the Atomic Manipulation node here. Let me probably get rid of this and do something like this. So every time we cast Static Orb, and then we cast Lightning Blast, we're first of all going to be getting more chains, and then we are going to be refunding mana. So this is going to be costing like 100 mana for sure, or 130 mana, or something like that. We'll see. And so that means we're going to be getting our mana sustain with the Static Orb Lightning Blast setup. And we can get a free Static Orb by casting Teleport. So if we ever take a big hit, lose a lot of mana, we can just teleport Static Orb and then refill our mana with the Lightning Blast. Okay, so that's pretty much the idea for the build, guys. And for the starter version, it's pretty much the same, but none of these items are, like I said, required. And yeah, that'll be it for the different versions. Let me know what you think, and I'll be making, build diaries on all of these kind of setups once the league launches. I usually do like a day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4-ish, and then make some build guides once the build is actually kind of, put together. But yeah, if you're interested in those, then stay tuned to the channel for those kind of videos. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.